And the second hour of the show begins right now. The hashtag remains to be The Daily Brief at K24 TV and at Sam W. Njoroge. It's all about conservation matters right here on the show since that ban was brought to the forefront in Feb 25th last year. What has been the progress so far? What issues are clearly coming up from this particular move? But before I engage my panel, let me bring in Tim Simwa, who's coming to us live from Uasin Gishu County. He is engaging the head of Conservancy North Rift, that is Benjamin Kinyili. He is head of Conservancy from the Kenya Forest Service. I'd like you, Tim, to engage this man on the issue at hand. Kindly take it away.
Good morning to you, Sam. Of course, as you did mention in your introduction, is that we are marking as a country 1 year down the line since the government put into effect the ban on illegal logging, to be specific, in public forests. We know that over the years there have been issues that has to do with conservancy. Of course, with the country rating below 10% in terms of forest cover, and of course with the expectation that at least by the year 2022 we will have at least 10% forest cover nationally. There have been so many initiatives that have been geared towards achieving this. So Sam, this morning I actually have with me the head of Conservancy in the a larger North Rift region, that is Mr. Benjamin Kinyili, who's going just to shed light in terms of just how far they have gone in making sure that they are part of this government intention, that at least we make the country safe in terms of preserving our climate and in terms of making sure that we have a robust forest cover. So Samuel, in a nutshell, is going to tell us at least exactly 1 year down the line, what can he say in terms of conservation of our forest, and to be very specific as far as the region that is he's in charge of, North Rift, is concerned. Welcome, Mr. Kinyili. Just as I did mention in our introduction, you can tell Kenyans, so far so good. How are we? What is the state of conservancy in the North Rift region?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be on live in K24. In North Rift region, really we are doing quite good, given that the farmers have embraced tree growing seriously as an investment venture. They are doing it in a business way. I commend them and I appreciate them, because at the moment, those who had invested in tree growing the last 20-15 years, they are reaping the benefits, because they are the ones who are sustaining the building industry. The timber we are consuming with these areas, you find it is coming from the farm forests, given that there was that ban, a moratorium for the state forest and also the community forest, but it exempted the farm forest. Those private farmers who had grown trees, they are given go ahead to harvest and also to sell in the market. And really it has been an incentive to them, because now they are able now to reap the benefit, they are able to sell, and also they are getting the profits. They are getting the benefit out of their investment. Also, you find now there is that shift. Now with that ban, this has been a grain growing area. You find now farmers, according to the numbers who have been coming to our offices, approaching us and also our technical officer, they are visiting their farm and they are dedicating a big chunk of their land to be under forest, because now they have seen a windfall in this ban. And also the ones who are growing, who are producing seedlings, the seedling production also has gone high. As we speak now, we have more than 24 million seedlings ready for planting in this long rain season, and much of it having been raised by the Kenya Forest Service tree nurseries. Also, we have the private nurseries, we have the individual women group and the youth group. For the first time, we have seen youth groups and also a women group coming forward to raise seedlings and also to take conservation and also tree growing a notch higher, which is very commendable, because now the future belongs to the youth.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kinyele, if I may cut you short, how did the members of the general public receive this idea that the government had banned illegal logging? We know that there are some people, some communities that entirely depend on forest economy for their livelihoods. How did they receive it?
Okay, I would correct there. It is not illegal. It was harvesting, which was given authorities to harvest in the state forests. So it was not, much of it was not done illegally. Although we had some cases whereby some communities were getting into the indigenous forest and doing some poaching, removing, harvesting of the material. That's where we have really put more emphasis. In that, okay, it was 50-50. For those who were in the sawmilling industry, to them, it's a business, a closed shop business. To them, those who were passionate about the environment, about increasing our forest cover, really it was a plus, because now it was a turning point, whereby now they had now to make sure that they are able now to we increase our forest cover. Currently, you know, it's 7.4%, and we are working towards 10% by the year 2022. Because according to our constitution, it required us to have a minimum of 10%, and really with our Vision 2030. Which was saying up to year 2030, we wanted it to be 10% by the year 2030. But under the Jubilee government, which under the wise leadership of His Excellency the President and also His Excellency the Deputy President, they saw it wise. We bring it forth such that by the year 2022, we need to achieve that 10% cover. So with the moratorium, it was a kind of an incentive, and really it was a turning point whereby now, as Kenya Forest Service, who are mandated to make sure that people take tree growing, tree planting, conservation of the forest seriously, really it was a turning point, and really we say it is commendable, because really now the people have embraced tree growing in their farms. And you know, it requires that each farmer needs to have 10% in his farm. So with the ban, I'm very sure they will see an incentive and they will plant trees.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kinyele. I think I hope I wish we had more time to maybe to continue with our engagement, but at least we are bound with the time. We need also to have other experts weighing on this matter. So Njoroge, having heard from the head of conservancy from North Rift, of course, is saying the future is very bright in terms of conserving our forests, saying that there are so many initiatives in place, at least hoping that by 2022, or rather in the coming long rainy season, at least 24 million seedlings will be planted, just to make sure that they are making this program real by the year 2022. Back to you, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Tim Simwa. Indeed, as you say, you wish we had more time, because I also felt maybe not Dr. Kalua, but Benjamin could have responded to a couple of other issues. But for now, let's come back right here in studio and continue our conversation on this very matter. Our environmental reporter, that is Dan Kaburu, has filed a feature that will be running later today during the evening edition, if we may, but have a trailer on what to expect later tonight.
Mwaka mmoja baada ya serikali kupiga marufuku ukataji wa miti katika misitu, ukataji huo unaonekana kusitishwa.
Mimi nauliza nini waziri arudi hapa apeane pesa ndio hii kichaka ipandwe miti.
Lakini kiwango cha maji mitoni bado hakijaongezeka, huku baadhi ya mito ikikauka kabisa na kuacha wanyamapori katika mahangaiko ya kukosa maji.
Nyama hapa wanateseka, wananchi wanateseka, na hii ndio mto peke yake. Hii region inategemea kwa maji.
Kwa uhondo kamili, ungana naye Dan Kaburu siku ya Jumatatu kwenye makala Misitu ya Kiu katika K24 saa 1 na saa 3.
Right, that feature will be coming your way at exactly 7 and 9 p.m. during our bulletins right here at K24 TV. You can join us to listen in to the kind of issues that our reporter Dan Kaburu was able to identify on the ground as he covered this story. But for now, he's right here with us, and he's seated to my extreme left. Dan, welcome to the program. Always a pleasure to host you right here on the Daily Brief. And to my immediate left, we've got environmentalists and also the founder of Green Africa Foundation. I'm talking about Dr. Isaac Kalua. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very
Always a pleasure to host you, and especially on this matter, on conservation. But let me begin with you, Dan. 1 year on, now that you went to the ground and you were able to interact with the issues, what did you identify?
The first thing to start with, Njoroge, I must say I'm very much pleased. I'm quite happy because when I raised this issue last year, we aired the story last year extensively as a station. That time logging was almost, our forests were almost destroyed to, I can't even explain it for you to understand.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. Now, when we aired the story on 5th of February last year, and then the government came in on 24th and banned logging across the country, I was quite happy because when I went back to the forest last week, I was in Aberdare, part of Nyeri County, the Nyeri County side of Aberdare Forest, and things have changed. I can confirm that on the ground, there's no logging that is even going on. When you try and talk about anything to do with cutting down a tree, even the residents here can tell you, you are in for trouble. After the forest, we managed to get to the areas that were highly affected last year when we were there last time, and right now things have changed. You can, even the story, in the evening, you can watch the stories covering the logs are still on the ground that were cut before the ban was effected. So there's much change on the ground. But unfortunately for the rivers, they are still dusty. There's no water in the rivers. They are quite dry. Most of them, like Wasonyiro, is completely dry in the Samburu side because we went all the way to Samburu. We also managed to go all the way to the top of Mount Kenya, about almost 4,000 feet above the sea level, to check on the situation up on the mountain. And I can confirm that logging has gone down. The CS had a discussion with him last week, the CS for Environment, Kereko Tobiko, and confirmed that it has been at least, there's 80% success in the moratorium. And we hope that it's going to be 100% if this continues. It's
an 80% success report. That's what you're telling us, Dan. Dr. Isaac, kindly weigh in on this matter. 1 year down the line, what have you been able to observe?
One of the greatest things, and thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
One of the greatest things to take note is the discussion about forests in this country. And I think this is tremendous, unmatched. There is no time in our history that we have ever talked about forests like we have during this time.
Yeah.
And the 1 year has done us very good. There is also a good perspective. As the chair of Kenya Water Towers Agency, I have received tremendous reports from some of the areas, apart from Samburu, of course, as we can see, and I'm going to explain maybe what could be happening, is that you have a lot of places where regeneration has taken place. And this is not even a case to pick one specific forest from another. It is across the board. The forests have regenerated. Water has increased, and as part of the Kenya Water Towers, this is our joy to know that the communities are really engaged, and they are happy to know that there is water that is tangible and they can be able to see. Of course, there are other sides of it, and part of the awareness creation, the number of messages that we receive at Kenya Water Towers, at the messages that are received at Kenya Forest Service, NEMA, and different institutions. A truck is seen with the logging and trees and all that, and someone calls immediately on WhatsApp, please follow up this, and I get enormous photos every now and then.
Yes.
This is something that is clearly very new. On the other side of it is that the charcoal burning, because this has also been banned, and there is no permit that is being given to this. The habits of our people have not changed. We are still using charcoal. Indeed, more charcoal than we were using before. And what does that mean? There is a clear black market that has been created. The cost of charcoal has gone up, and therefore cost of living, for sure, because those who are using charcoal or firewood is because they can't afford any other alternative. And I look forward to when the National Oil Corporation will move out and churn out the Gas ya Mwananchi project so that people can have a clear, affordable alternative. So this is something that is happening. There are, of course, jobs that have been lost out of institutions and companies and individuals that were working in the timber sector, and this is a painful thing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of losses in one way or another in the tea industry. There is quite a lot of negative things as well. So it's a balance of here and there. But the bigger question is, we are talking of 10% forest cover that we need to achieve within a specific time. Where is the 10%? How do we find it? And the answer is here. First of all, if we planted all our forests to 100%, only our forests, that takes only 2% of our forest cover. That tells you that the 5% plus or 7% adds up from what we have as community, as trust land, as farmlands of my farm and your farm. That adds up to a total of 7.1 or 7.2 forest cover that we currently have. What has happened? This has shifted from the government forests into the private lands, into the trust lands, and therefore people are cutting down trees haphazardly to try to fill up the gap.
Yeah.
But you see, these are things that now is the discussion, and it's the reality on the ground,
happening.
and that we now we need to start looking at and agree. Is this what we must do? Is this the direction? Are we gaining?
Yeah.
Are we losing? And I'll be happy to engage myself in this. But generally and overall, as an environmentalist,
something positive
is happening.
And I like the fact that you said pushing the conversation more to the ground.
Yes.
And earlier on, Kaburu, you mentioned something to do with community participation. How has it been on the ground? How are people embracing these new initiatives to conserve forests?
Actually, Njoroge, what I can say is that in most places I've visited, even after the ban, the response was quite positive, especially from the communities. I can confirm that Kenyans are quite supportive about the initiative, because anywhere you go and have that discussion about deforestation, people will always tell you, when we never used to cut trees, there was enough rain here. But now that we've cut down the trees, there's no rain. They know very well about it, and the positive thing is that they are all embracing and coming back to the knowledge that we need to conserve this. You remember the last time we had a discussion here, I had a story whereby I came across people in a Buru forest in Nakuru County. These communities brought themselves together, they came together, decided, instead of even cutting firewood from the forest, we can come up with our own way of finding our own source of energy, and that's when they got to biogas. And that's a very positive thing. What I can say, the challenge I've found across there is that, like Dr. is saying here, alternatives is what is lacking. And when you don't give someone an alternative, of course, they will look for a way out. And that's why you see even still right now, charcoal burning is still ongoing in some parts of the country. If you go to Turkana, the last time I was in Turkana, I was so surprised. The place is so dry, the remaining few trees, they're felling them down for charcoal burning. So it's a dire situation in Turkana County. But have we given these people the alternatives? The challenge we have, and maybe we could look into it, Dr. will also help us, they have this conversation out there.
Yeah.
When we talk about the alternatives, there are many people who are producing biogas that they cannot use, they cannot fully exhaust. So there's no storage for this gas. The challenge is, the law does not allow for people to package this gas in the LPG, in those cylinders. The reason being, I remember covering a story in Kiserian another day. A slaughterhouse, they're producing a lot of biogas. An expert spoke to them and told them, you can easily supply this gas in the whole town of
feed the community.
The whole Kiserian town.
Yeah.
You can have it piped into the places. But you see now, the law does not allow for this. So I think when you talk about the alternatives, and if we really want to achieve the 10% cover and even go beyond the 10% cover, Alternative is a must. We have to embrace green energy.
And Dr. Kalua, you've definitely interacted with various reports on this very issue. Some of these issues that Dan is raising right here on the set, have they been addressed by this report? And if so, to what extent?
Reports end up to be reports, unfortunately, in some of the cases. This is a truthful position. Because you can even have a task force sitting to discuss everything else, but you end up even with the final report that is even doctored to avoid some issues and bring out some issues, just because of fear of the unknown. We must, as a country, face issues head-on. The development of our country, when we talk about the matters of Big Four agenda, when we talk about the economic growth of our country, the GDP and everything else, it's all anchored on the well-being of our ecological infrastructure. It's so easy, it's so cheap to maintain it as it is so that we gain a lot out of it. It is so extremely expensive to ever recover and be able to deal with it to return it to the way it's supposed to be. This means there must be responsibility at all levels, not just one individual, not one institution. There must be a collaborative approach so that Kenya Forest Service, and I am glad there are professionals there as I speak to you, people who are really focused in a good direction, a board that is committed to ensure that things happen. But there are characters inside there that must be dealt with and thrown away completely to be forgotten by 5 generations to come, because they are not adding value to the economic growth of this country. When we look at policies that have been placed, and I'm glad we are talking about alternatives, and this is why I passionately push some of the things, and you wonder why this is happening. Talking about gas, it is, you're not reinventing the wheel here. You're doing what is supposed to be done. It has been done elsewhere. Gas can be piped to any specific institution. When you speak to NOC, they have good ideas, tremendous ideas, professionals. But somehow when they move to a specific point, it's like it is stopped and they are not able to implement what they were supposed to do. Yet gas is a very good opportunity. Biogas, look at what it is that we can be able to harness out of this. But are we pushing the agenda in the best? Do we have proper policies that are going to guide us to the next level? These are some of the things. Charcoal today, you have so much charcoal. There is no authority to have a movement permit for charcoal. But go on to the roads. The number of images that I have on my phone.
You're going to find them there.
You find them there. People have even movement passes from Uganda. They say their charcoal is coming from Uganda. So, you know, at the end of the day, what is it that we are doing? Is the institution that is supposed to deal with this have capacity enough to be able to monitor the progress of all these things? So policy is one, implementation of the ideas that are given out there, and then some political clout. You know, we tend to bring out issues so that we please a specific person. You can't please an individual or a political party or even anyone on this earth on matters of environment. It will be just very, very temporary, because the future is coming with a full blast of activities that are negative.
When you mention those issues, Daktari, it reminds me of a ban that was issued sometime in 1986, and the intention was to protect indigenous trees. Fast forward to 2016 and 18 last year, a similar ban is issued, with the same intention, to protect indigenous trees. How can we protect this ban from falling into the incompetencies of the 1986 ban? Where do we need to begin?
We need to look at the entire process in a sustainable manner, asking ourselves the most basic questions. Why do we need a forest? What does the forest give us? The forest will give us medicine. The forest will give us materials for production. The forest will give us so much else. We are talking of construction. We need to do that. So how do we do it sustainably? You have a 40-year sustainable cycle in a forest, in the plantations. How do you maintain that? When do you move to the next one? So that it is not only, because the ban is just supposed to create awareness. The ban is supposed to help us to regenerate, and it shows that we have moved from the sustainable approach to one that is unsustainable.
Yeah.
But there is life after the ban of this, and that is what discussion we need to be talking about now, so that we can have timber. We are going to now start having imports, like we are, from countries that we are helping them to mess their forests, and that effect is going to be with us here very soon. So it has to be very sustainable in a way that we don't look like we have succeeded when in true sense we haven't.
And I like that there is life after the ban, and that is precisely where we should focus, and we shall do exactly that immediately after this break. The second hour is still on, and the hashtag is still the Daily Brief at K24 TV and at Sam W. Njoroge, our sign language interpreter. This hour is Josephine Kimathi, back with my panel right here in studio, Dr. Isaac Kalua, founder, Green Africa Foundation. Welcome to the program. Welcome back. And I have Dan Kaburu, who's an environmental reporter right here with K24 TV. Dan, when this ban was issued in Feb, it was issued for 90 days.
Yes.
Then come May, it was extended to 60 days. Then after the 90 days? 90 days. Then after the 90 days, it was, hold it right there, we need it for a year. And sometime last year, the CS almost hinted that it could be something that is permanent. Should that be something that we should expect?
Actually, for me, I think we should prepare, because there was transition, where it's like Jipangeni, we are coming. So I think that could be the way to go. And if that's the way to go for me as a reporter, as an environmental reporter, what I've witnessed on the ground, I think it's okay. Because a lot has happened, Njoroge, out there. We have lost so much into logging. And if the ban is sustained, then let it be.
And what usually are the disconnects? Is it in law? Is it in policy? Is it in implementation? Where is the disconnect?
The major challenge, I think, is implementation. Because Kenya has very, very good laws. Last week I was in Mount Kenya, and I remember having a conversation with an expert also in issues to do with water and environment, and he was telling me we have very good laws as a country, but when it comes to implementation, we are almost at zero, because no one is following up these laws to make sure that they are followed to the letter. If someone is arrested, like Doctor was saying here, we have a challenge, especially in political will. Politicians sometimes, they scatter everything. You might be having a very good idea, a very good plan for the country, which is going to benefit everyone, but in the process, someone will just come out there and start trying to scatter everything. The challenge we have in this city, especially in regenerating of Nairobi River, I've covered this river for some time now, and I can tell you, if you go to the ground, it will take a lot of effort and a lot of, if we are going to succeed in bringing back the Nairobi River to where it's supposed to be, a lot has to be done, a lot of sacrifices must be done, because when you go along the river, you find a lot of illegal structures within, actually some on top of the river. And when you touch them, someone will come up and start saying, oh, we are trying to sabotage the lives of those who are not, whatever, well up and stuff. When you go to areas like Nairobi Dam, raw sewage is channeled to the dam, and that's where the dam died. And we cannot talk about the dam which was there years back. People used to do fishing in the dam. Today it's no longer there. Why? Because after these structures were constructed along the river and people started channeling waste into the river, both waste and solid waste and water waste, you realize that it has completely taken out these ecosystems. So we have to sacrifice if we must get these things done.
Absolutely. Dr. when it comes to life after the ban, what should be our priorities?
We need to know the lifestyle of our people. People will definitely need to cook. There are those people who will need firewood, whether or not we want, because that's their way of life. We need to push them towards sustainable cooking so that we have user-friendly and environmentally friendly gas cookers, rather the
sorry about that.
Excuse me. We are talking about, thank you for your understanding. We're talking about the cook stoves that are environmentally friendly. There are people who will definitely and always use charcoal. We, as Kenya Water Towers Agency and other partners, we have designed a project that I believe, if it is implemented within the time that we have given, this will be the president's biggest legacy, and not only the president, a national legacy, because it brings out the plantation of bamboo along the rivers through the riparian space. It brings in partners who are the corporates that we have in this institution. It brings out the world's biggest producer of machines and equipments for producing different products and items, either for firewood, for construction, for all that. So it's a whole cycle that leaves no space for anyone not to be able to participate. It causes employment opportunities for everyone within the river and within the community. Every 2 kilometers or 5 kilometers, it is, and I am glad that this has been embraced by the presidency. We have presented this, and I am sure that it is going to work in the best way possible. We are talking of gas. There are now, as a country, you know, Bachu Industries is now producing the gas cylinders locally here. Yeah. It's no longer needed to be brought from abroad. We have places and now arrangements that are being done so that you can be able to store gas in a much cheaper way. This is the direction we must be able to take. There are so many alternatives, biogas, that are practical in different parts of the world that are causing this. But for us to succeed in this, we must speak the language of the Mwananchi. Mwananchi is not destroying the forests because they have an alternative. It is their only source of livelihoods. They want to be able to get into the forest and collect seeds to be able to sell, as opposed to cut trees to make charcoal and to do all this. But it is for us to be able to drive this for them to understand that
what
you can get.
Take? For us to drive
it takes me and you. Exactly
that.
Why I'm seated here. Yeah. I believe that why you called me is for us to bring out these issues. It takes the county government to sign up the implementation plan for protection of the forests. Very few county governments out of the 47 have been able to sign this. And that, by signing that, means more job opportunities for your people, more protection for the forest. You find a county like one of the counties, there is Dakacha forest in Kilifi County, I think. People are destroying the forest right now in a way that it has never been seen. Reason? They say they want to clear this place because we have been advised by our leadership and other people that we are now going to produce pineapples in this specific place. So they have seen an opportunity to destroy. Yet they can be told of the advantage. You can imagine the bird life that is there. You can imagine the wildlife that is there and how much we are going to place ourselves in danger in those places. And this is only one county. It is happening across. But I'm happy that they have been able, that specific county has signed up the agreement for protection and implementation of all this, so that KFS is not just at the headquarters, it is to the ground, on the ground, so that people are able to participate. In my own organization, the board has sat and agreed issues of advertising for tree seedlings at the headquarters should not be happening. We should push it so that it is at the county level and the communities on the ground, because you create another channel of brokers to come and start selling seedlings and all this. So these are the things. Tell Mwananchi what you are going to benefit, why you must be able to protect
what is
them.
Your take home?
Yes.
Kaburu, misitu ya kiu. What are some of the issues that you have given prominence to in this particular report?
Number one is the success, partly success of the ban on logging, because we've looked at 1 year down the road, how it has been. We can say in the report it's a bit, the story highlights the success of it. We also have the Waziri talking about it. Number two, we're also looking at now, of course the ban has been effected, but you see the success of it cannot be felt within a year. That is in terms of an environmental success, whereby we have the recharging of the rivers. It will take some time because like where we've been, it will take another maybe several years. If the trend continues, no disturbance of the forest takes place, we will have the rivers recharge again. But as it is now, the report shows the situation is quite dire. also the report highlights on the issues of illegal water harvesting or water connectivity up the mountain, which is illegal. But people there are doing it. We understand there's some big people who are doing the thing, not just in the side of Mount Kenya where we are, but all other parts of Mount Kenya that is happening. So that means it's not...
And I have to interrupt this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You see, this is where when we say big people are involved, I think it has come to a time
give them names.
that we must give names. It is no longer time, because what kind of a country or a nation are we going to live? I mean, you have children, we have children, I have children.
Yeah.
I want to leave them in a place in a country that they can be able to survive tomorrow. If we say big people, big people, big people, it is not helping the nation. Because maybe even them, they have gotten into a situation that they were not expecting. They actually didn't know how bad it is. But if we highlight it, they will stop. They will stop.
Absolutely.
And that is what we must be able to do. Sorry for interruption.
No, it's okay.
Please, let's stop this issue.
It's allowed.
It's allowed. It's allowed.
Yes,
I take up the challenge because actually those are some of the issues we are looking at. Number two, going downstream, we have the river Wasonyiro, which has been seriously affected, and wildlife there is quite affected by the same. Also, the communities along the river. But basically, those are the issues we should expect. We should expect tonight. But more to come as we proceed in the issue to cover coverage of environmental stories.
Environmental stories. So those are the prominent issues. But as our boss would tell us right here in the newsroom, what in one sentence, what is your story?
My story is 1 year after the ban, the success.
Okay. That is precisely what we should expect. Dr. Kalua, coming to you, earlier on when we were during the break, we mentioned something to do with alternatives. As we bring the communities on board, as we try to make sure that they own these initiatives one step at a time, sustainably so, what alternatives do we present to them?
I've already talked about them, and these are small efforts by different people.
Yeah.
You see, and as I talked about the forest, we need to understand why we need the forest. Issues of climate change. There are issues of the aesthetics that we need. There is the medical value of the forest. There is the value of the tree. There is the economic value of all this. We need timber. We need job opportunities. We need to bring this out in a good way. Through and part of this being, and it is a collaborative issue, and also a collaborative forest management in all this. Our schools, where in our schools is the forest management in its best place? Is it in the curriculum? Is it progressive so that from the lower level to secondary up to the top level, is it mainstreamed so that everyone does understand why we need this and what are the effects of climate change? It starts from there. Then we take it now to the next level, because there is what you can't change today. And it is tell an African, I've always said this, tell an African to conserve the environment, but you'll be left alone. Show them how to make money. They will move in that direction. We're on the third floor here of the second floor. They will jump out of the window doing that. So use it as a bait. Yeah. Show them how they can make money out of beekeeping, out of fish farming. Show them how they can make money out of modern agricultural practices, including one of the biggest dangers of our forest is the cows that we keep and the goats and all that. How can we do it sustainably so that we can be able to add value to the meat that is produced? And this is what we are doing at the Kenya Water Towers and all the other institutions that I am in, that we must be able to push. The gas, we can't talk as a country about gas ya mwananchi 4 years and it has not gotten to every homestead. No, there must be something wrong. It has to be cracked. Is it money? Ministry of Energy has got all the money that you would need for this. This project needs to have taken off. We need to be having people who are training the communities about these projects. We need to have the bamboo production to the highest level, not just telling mwananchi plant bamboo ni mzuri ni nini. Show them with the bamboo that you already have how much money you can be able to make. It should be something semi-autonomous, kind of an institution like a bamboo authority that is working on this in a massive way. My friend yesterday was telling me we have a lot of farms of ADC. Why don't we get people to be able to plant trees and our children to do that? I have been campaigning on the Plant Your Age campaign thing after Wangari Maathai passed on. Yeah. And we have clearly planted we planted about 15 million trees when we are expecting to plant 5.6. We are now talking of planting so many trees to reach 10% cover, forest cover within a specific time. Are we doing that? Are we maintaining? Or are we just going out to plant trees because we are having allowances and there is a big budget that cannot be commensurate to the number of trees that are growing?
Daktari, very fast, because Kaburu raised an issue earlier on that as much as the forest cover, there could be some improvement in that front. The rivers still remain to be dry, right? And you say that you were going to explain why that is the situation. Could you kindly do that?
Yes, I saw that and I explained this way. We have 7.2% forest cover
currently, yes.
This is maintained within the government forests, which if we only planted and fully, it will only be 2%. So the rest is outside this area. Because of lack of alternative measures, talk about charcoal. If you go to the market right now, there is more charcoal than you ever needed. Why? And there is no license for moving charcoal at the moment. If you go to other places, there is something negative that is happening. Because people are depleting the same forests, not the government forests now. They have moved to the individual forests, to trust lands, because it is like a free-for-all, because the ban did not cover the trust land, the ban did not cover your own land, because there was a provision that you can be able to do that. So the effect is more or less the same. Our government forests are safe, thank God, and thank you to KFS and the people who are involved. I am proud of them and doing a good job. Thanks for the ministry and doing all this. But now that has moved to the other places because we are not offering an alternative.
Right.
And above all, I think there's much more, and I believe we can be able to deal with it.
That's true. They say success is the consistency of purpose. So we need to deliver and invest every kind of effort into consistency so that eventually we're able to see the success, and that is the restoration of our water towers, the restoration of our forest cover. Gentlemen, for now, let's put a comma to this conversation, not a full stop. We'll definitely pick it up a little later, but for now, thank you so much for coming through, and thank you for following up with this conversation this far. The show is not yet over. We'd like to take you back to Parliament, where we have the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of the National Assembly listening in to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on the 2019-2020 Budget Policy Statement. Let's listen in.
Which is the headquarters of Al-Shabaab, not just anywhere in Somalia. Just to clarify, so that people don't think we are penalizing this particular bank. We are not. There are certain facts that we've not brought, but it is good that we brought it here because you oversight us.
Okay. I also want to say that there are certain issues we may not be able to discuss here because the case is still ongoing. But I think at that point, we stop. So, Bana DBP, proceed. You answering the other questions so that we give more members so that we close.
On asset recovery and conviction, Madam SVP is telling me 53% that we cited here relates to corruption. But in the whole of what we are doing, we are not just about corruption or DPP. It's the whole criminal arena. And that is 90% conviction rate, which I think is good here. Now, the question on asset recovery, should I address that?
No, address because it was raised by Honorable Yusuf and Senior Olako also.
There is money that is stuck abroad. There is the FRAC arrangement that was entered into by the Swiss. But we are now sitting down. In fact, it was only today that we were speaking with the Honorable Attorney General. We are setting up a team to sit down with them now to see the modalities of how we are going to bring some of the money back here in Kenya. I cannot cite the amounts, but maybe in the next meeting we will be more prepared to give you the amount of monies and where. And there was a question by Honorable Olago. I think that one the anti-terrorism one we've covered. But then again, recovery assets. I think that is a point that we've also noted, that the money is recovered, if just returned the way they are to Treasury, then we don't know what happens to it. And of course there are concerns that the same thing will happen again. So again, we've sat down with the Honorable Attorney General, and we are formulating, and we're going to come to you to suggest that we have a special fund where this money can be set up for restitution. And we want to have very clear guidelines and rules of how the monies can be used. For example, we find a family bank on the NYS, about 64 million. But 24.5 million, we said that that is money that will go back to NYS, while the balance went to the judiciary as a fine. We have the money. We have now asked, the family bank has paid, we have now asked the Honorable Attorney General to move with speed for us to have a fund where these monies will be put in. There are other banks that are who have approached us also. They are willing to pay, but we are saying that money will be restituted back to NYS because these were monies that were taken from NYS. So, Honorable Olago, we are trying to work out something so that we can have that. Then it can be clearly seen how the money was recovered and how they are being utilized, and have very strict and stringent rules to ensure that there is no privilege or corruption involved in the whole process. I'll ask Madam SPP to deal with the role of duplicity.
But we are very keen on that issue of how to deal with the recovered finances.
Yes.
So in our next meeting, we should be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We really want to know any progress you make with the AG. Please let us know.
Okay.
And Treasury should be involved also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the issue of duplicity, especially in cases of procurement, has been cited by many people, but we all realize that procurement is a chain. You find that you have the people who approve the project, the planning, then you have the opening committee, you have the evaluation committee, you have the acceptance committee, then you have the user. So as a matter of fact, you have so many people involved. One of the reasons why there are many people in court, because at the beginning, and I would cite this as a reason why we have to deal with corruption, nobody is ready to own up or to assist, to say that I just did this, and therefore I'm ready to cooperate. And because of the weak systems we had in plea bargaining, where a prosecutor is not able to promise somebody anything even if they cooperate, the jurisdiction for sentencing is still with the court, and the sentence is mandatory. So when somebody is cooperating with you, you either withdraw the charges, and when you withdraw the charges, they are not ready to cooperate. So we have to charge all of them. And sometimes you look at the small people that you're talking about, let's say the storekeepers, that these are the people who we should use as witnesses. But look at a storekeeper who is saying that in one day he was receiving 48 cows, and they have no stores. And this is the man, when you go to court, you'll be asked, he said he received. So you are either using him as a witness or as an accused person, because without him, that offense could not have been completed. And these are the storekeepers who are signing acceptance certificates 5-10 years down the line, knowing very well they did not receive, and they're telling you I was given money.
And from the JLAC sittings with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, let's take a break. When we return, the final leg of the show will be on.